Today, the El Salvador factor, the DFA daily to the 8th of September 2021. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics, one that is post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. In today's show, we check in on the markets and also look at what happened to Bitcoin as El Salvador released the beast. First, the S&P 500 closed lower on Tuesday, while the Nasdaq edged up to a record high as investors balance worries about the slowing pace of economic recovery with expectations that the Federal Reserve will maintain its accommodative monetary policy. Amgen fell 2.1% and Merck & Co lost 1.6% after Morgan Stanley cut its ratings on the stocks to equal weight from overweight. The Nasdaq was supported by big tech stocks that have fueled Wall Street's gain in recent years. Apple rose 1.6% and Netflix added 2.7%, both hitting record highs. You could call it a gravitation towards big tech. As people feel a bit uncertain about how COVID will play out, you don't have your reopening worries with those companies, said Tom Martin, Senior Portfolio Manager at Goldbolt Investments in Atlanta. Much of the rest of Wall Street fell. 8 of the 11 sub-indices traded lower, with economy-sensitive sectors like industrials down 1.8% and utilities dipping 1.4%. The real estate index lost 1.1%. Tepid August payroll data last Friday raised concerns that the economic recovery was slowing down. And on Tuesday, Morgan Stanley cut its rating on US stocks to underweight, pointing to risks related to economic growth, policy and legislation, and warning it expects the next 2 months to be, quote, bumpy. Accommodative central bank policies and reopening optimism have pushed the S&P 500 and Nasdaq to record highs over the past weeks, but concerns are now growing about rising coronavirus infections due to the Delta variant and its impact on the economic recovery. Analysts on average expect the S&P 500 companies to increase their earnings per share by 30% in the September quarter, following a massive 96% surge in the second quarter, according to recent data. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.76% to end at 35,100, while the S&P 500 lost 0.34% to 4,520, and the Nasdaq Composite climbed 0.07%. The S&P 500 remains about 20% above where it was a year ago, and the Nasdaq is up about 19%. Now, El Salvador's historic adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender on Tuesday was beset by teething problems as an angry protest by mistrustful citizens, technological glitches, and a dip in the cryptocurrency clouded the rollout. The protesters burned a tire and set off fireworks in front of the Supreme Court building around noon local time as the government deployed heavily militarized police to the site of the protest. This is a currency that's not going to work for pupusa vendors, bus drivers or shopkeepers, said a San Salvador resident who opposed the adoption of the cryptocurrency. Pupusas are a traditional Salvadorian corn-based food. This is a currency that's ideal for big investors who want to speculate with their economic resources. Earlier on Tuesday, Salvadorians tried to download the Chivo digital wallet, but found it was unavailable on popular app stores. Then Bukele tweeted that the government had temporarily unplugged it in order to connect more servers to deal with demand. Polls indicate many Salvadorians are wary of the volatility of cryptocurrency, which could shed hundreds of dollars in value in a day. That view is shared by many economists worried at how it will affect economic stability. However, others have embraced it as a way ordinary people in a poor country can invest in financial markets. The bold experiment got off to a bumpy start when shortly after midnight Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele complained the government-backed Bitcoin app was not available on various internet platforms, including Apple and Huawei. Bukele used his Twitter account to press online stores to stock the app, or digital wallet known as Chivo, and Huawei later began making it available. But when the app proved unable to cope with user registrations, the government unplugged it in order to connect it to more servers and increase capacity. Still, as the app began appearing on more platforms, Bukele was by afternoon retweeting videos posted on social media with people making payments using Bitcoin in retailers in El Salvador, including McDonald's and Starbucks. El Salvador is taking a great step forward today, said Carlos Garcia, who went to a booth at a San Salvador shopping mall to give out advice on how the new currency would work. Promising $30 of Bitcoin for each user, Bukele has pushed for its adoption, saying it will help Salvadorians save $400 million a year on commissions for remittances, while giving access to financial services to people with no bank account. We must break the paradigms of the past, he tweeted. El Salvador has the right to advance towards the first world. He's 40 years old and one of the most popular presidents in the Americas, but has been accused of eroding democracy. Opinion polls show Salvadorians are sceptical about using Bitcoin, fearing its volatility and unsure of how it will work. As the currency's price wobbled, the government purchased an additional 150 Bitcoins on Tuesday, worth around $7 million. Still, the poorest may struggle to even access the technology needed to make Bitcoin work in El Salvador, where nearly half the population has no internet access and many more only have spotty connectivity. I'm going to continue suffering with or without Bitcoin, said sweets seller Josie Herrera, who said he had trouble accessing a mobile phone. Some say the adoption of Bitcoin may fuel illicit transactions and financial instability, and it's already muddied the outlook for more than $1 billion in financing that El Salvador is seeking from the International Monetary Fund. Ahead of the launch, El Salvador bought 400 Bitcoins worth around $20 billion, helping to drive its price above $52,000 for the first time since May. But hours later, Bitcoin had weakened and traded down significantly. Ethereum, another cryptocurrency, fell 13% to 3,427, while crypto exchange Coinbase Global slid 4.18% after reporting delays in some transactions on its platform. The change means businesses should accept payments in Bitcoin alongside the US dollar, which has been El Salvador's official currency since 2001, and it will remain legal tender. It still remains unclear whether businesses will be penalised if they don't accept Bitcoin. In the run-up to the launch, the government installed ATMs that allow Bitcoin to be converted into dollars and withdrawn without commission from the digital wallet Chivo. Bukele blamed Apple, Google and Huawei app download platforms for the initial Chivo delay. Release him at Apple, at Google, at Huawei, he wrote in a tweet, which was accompanied by a red-faced angry emoji. The wallet was later available from Huawei and Apple. Like all innovations, El Salvador's Bitcoin process has a learning curve, he said in a tweet. Not everything will be achieved in a day or in a month. In barely 2 years in office, Bukele has taken control of almost all levers of power, but although he's promised to clear up graft, the Biden administration recently put some of his close allies on a corruption blacklist. Last week, top judges appointed by Bukele's lawmakers ruled that he could serve a second term, breaking away from a constitutional rule that forbade consecutive terms. Analysts fear the adoption of Bitcoin, whose transaction records are distributed across the internet, beyond the reach of national jurisdictions, could encourage money laundering. After the Bitcoin law was approved, the rating agencies Moody's downgraded El Salvador's creditworthiness, while its dollar-denominated bonds have also come under pressure. And the World Bank reiterated on Tuesday that it could not help El Salvador in adopting Bitcoin given environmental and transparency shortcomings. Bitcoin's price plummeted over 10% Tuesday as El Salvador announced that it would officially accept the major cryptocurrency as the nation's legal tender. Bitcoin's slump from Monday accelerated as the crypto failed to hold its $50,000 price level, sliding from $51,000 to $44,700 within a single hour. The sudden sell-off resulted in $1.44 billion in future liquidations of Bitcoin trades in the past 24 hours, according to data from Bybit. The single largest reported liquidation occurred on Huobi BTC, worth $43.7 million at the time. As expected, the vast majority of liquidations were longs, representing about 88% of the total liquidations. Since dropping to weekly lows, the price of Bitcoin rebounded up to as high as 47,500. Following the brunt of the pullback, El Salvador's president tweeted that he is buying the dip, purchasing another 150 Bitcoins worth about $6.9 billion, adding to those 400 already purchased. The average cost of the purchases appears to be around $46,000. Data from Glassnode shows that the mean Bitcoin funding rate, that's average across all exchanges, has steadily increased throughout August. Funding rates rose from 0.015% in early August to as high as 0.03% at the start of September. Derivatives exchange Bybit saw its funding rate rise to as high as 0.085% in late August. Relatively high funding rates can indicate that the market is overheating, with too many traders being over-leveraged. More often than not, high funding rates will lead to a pullback, which was the case earlier this May. Now, the point I want to make again is that this is a classic illustration of the problem with cryptocurrencies. Not only do you have the underlying, but you have all of these various derivatives sitting over the top of it, creating significant volatility, creating opportunity to make money for those who know what to do, specifically well-capitalized large players, but also making the playing field very warped when it comes to ordinary investors and ordinary people trying to play the markets. This is a rigged market, as I discussed the other day with Adam Stokes, and people need to be very careful. And to whether El Salvador will make Bitcoin stick, who knows? But as I predicted earlier, there was always going to be a fallout, and we've seen the fallout really hit the Bitcoin price so far. The question is, of course, will it drop further? Well, it certainly may, but then volatility is the friend of those in the know and the friend of those who are able to speculate to make money. So expect more volatility ahead. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.